Wake Up Wake County and the Wake County League of Women Voters present the 2011 Cary Mayoral and Town Council Candidate Forum.
All right. So I'd like to go ahead and ask each of the candidates to provide 1 minute for introduce themselves and to tell us your top priority for the next 2 years. Starting with you, Mr. France.
First, thanks to Wake Up Wake County and the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. My name is Don France. Do I have to use the microphone?
I think we need to use the microphone.
For the same video. Not that you don't have a booming voice.
Got it. All right. My name is Don France. For the last 4 years, it has been my honor and privilege to serve as your voice in town government on the Cary Town Council and the District B seats. For over 20 years, my family and I have been blessed to call Cary home, and during that entire time, we have worked as hard as we can to give back to our community and make Cary a better place to live, because your community is what you make of it, and if all of us took the time to give back and get involved in our community, then Cary could even be a much better place to live, work, and raise a family. My wife Lisa and I are also small business owners in Cary. I'm actually the only business owner in this race, and as a small business owner, I understand many of the issues and obstacles facing business today. My top priorities: continue to provide the high quality of life that Cary has become so famous for, and I pledge to continue to do that. Thank you.
Gail, before you speak, I just wanted to let everybody know that there is another candidate in this race named Jeff Fox, and he was unable to be here tonight.
He was also unable to be at the forum yesterday, and he's refused the Cary Chamber of Commerce forum, and he's refused the Heart of Cary Association.
I'm Gail Adcock. I am the incumbent in the District D race. I'm a nurse practitioner and a registered nurse, and I'm the Director of Corporate Health Services at SAS. I will continue to focus on fiscal health, public safety, and transparency in government. As your representative, I pledge to conduct myself with honesty and integrity. Thank you to Wake Up Wake County and the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this forum.
Hello, my name is Don Hyatt. I'm the challenger in District D. I've been involved politically locally for about 10 years. I'm a senior software development manager for IBM. I've done pretty much everything from building porches to playing the piano for youth choirs, and a broad range of experience both locally, politically, and going back to when I was a youngster in Maryland. And I am running on a platform of promoting quality growth to keep our taxes low and our future secure.
Good evening. My name is Zeke Bridges, and I'm running for the Cary Town Council at-large seat. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Grace, and we together have a 2-year-old daughter. We live in West Cary, and I love this town. I love this entire town. I'm a small business owner, and I'm a practicing attorney, and the things that I would like to focus on once elected are bringing jobs back to Cary and ensuring that Cary is a place that's open for business so that we can continue to grow and that Cary can be the place that we've all come to love. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lori Bush. I'm a wife and a mother. I am also a technologist. I worked at Cisco Systems. I am very passionate about Cary. I have been on the Planning and Zoning Board, ran the Citizens Issues Advisory Group, and I've also been involved in my homeowners association. I would like to take that passionate citizen engagement to town council. My priorities are environmental protection, and I've garnered the Sierra Club endorsement, balancing growth, and making sure that we are fully funding police and safety, public safety.
My name's Michelle Muir. I'm very happy to be here with you today. I own a small business here in Cary that does marketing consulting for other small businesses. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm an extremely active civic servant, and I've been here for 27 years, 13 of those in the Triangle. I'm basically running, my priority is to engage citizens to have a vision, bring forward a vision so that Cary is the quality community 15 and 20 years from now that it is today. And I believe we need vision and planning to make that happen. I plan to work full-time in the job to engage citizens with those goals in mind and to make sure that we protect our natural resources while planning for the growth that is bound to happen. So I'd appreciate your consideration, and I'm thankful for the time to be here.
See if I can do this without knocking over the water jug. My name is Harold Weinbrecht. I'm the mayor of Cary and have been so the last 4 years, and it's been my honor and privilege to serve the people of Cary. My top priority for the next 4 years is to use my experience to keep the lowest tax rate in Wake County with the highest quality of life. Also, to keep Cary one of the most safest, most desirable places to live in the United States. To keep building relationships, to keep businesses strong, and to keep our community strong. If I look a little tired today, just got off a plane this morning from Dublin, Ireland, and arrived earlier today. And we were there meeting with hundreds of business people. They realized that Cary is one of the most desirable places to run a business in the United States. And they are learning from us 15 seconds ago. So just to tell you, in case you're wondering, I spent my fare over there to go tell them how well Cary is doing, and we're learning from each other. We are truly twins. So thank you for the 1 minute opening. That was supposed to be 15 seconds.
Okay. Now that everybody's had a chance to make their opening statements, we will now start with questions. Generally speaking, I will be asking different questions to the different candidates in the different races, but they will all questions from a group will be from the same general area, like water or transportation, or as in the case of this first group, it's a category we call revenue / impact fees. So we're going to get started with, we're going to go District B, District D, at large, and mayor in that order with the questions. And I've got a question for each group in each in about 4 different categories. So we're going to start with a question in the revenue impact fee category for District B. Growth in Cary continues despite the down economy. Do you think it's a series of several little questions, so let's see, bear with me here. Do you think residential and business growth pays for itself in Cary, is the first question. If not, should it? Third, do you support further impact fee increases to help pay for needed infrastructure? And fourth, should fees be used in the city to encourage growth in targeted areas?
I'll do my best. Yes, growth should pay for itself. Growth does pay for itself over time via property tax revenue, but there is an initial impact and an initial cost that comes with growth up front. That's what impact fees are for. Those are used to help recover that initial impact, that initial cost of that growth coming to town. Growth impact fees or development fees can be used as a growth management tool. That in some regards, that's how we do things here in the town of Cary. Where we want to encourage redevelopment, however, like in our downtown core, we've actually recently waived the impact fees for a short period of time to try to incent redevelopment in the downtown area. But we've also, at the same time, we just increased or added another impact fee to multifamily development apartment complexes in Cary because they were not paying their fair share. We were charging single-family homes impact fees for parks, but we were not charging multifamily development for parks fees. That has now changed. We voted to do that at a work session. It'll come before council in a public hearing, and I can promise you apartment complexes will now be assessed parks and recreation impact fees. Thank you.
Okay, now.
I forgot.
Same question.
No, new questions. Yeah. Yeah, you can ask again. It won't count against your time. Okay, this is for the District D candidates. As Cary grows, how do we keep up with the increased demand for services given the current economic climate and increased constraints on revenue sources? Should we maintain current revenue sources or develop new ones? Do you support raising property taxes or impact fees?
Well, gee, thanks for asking an easy question. Really appreciate that. I think the town of Cary's done an excellent job to this point. We took office in 2007. We lowered the property tax from 42 cents on $100 evaluation to 33, and then the recession hit the next year. And rather than raising property taxes, we looked at what we were spending money on. We made adjustments in our operating budget. We gave a lot of scrutiny to our capital improvement budget. We took all but the most crucial projects out of the capital improvement budget and put them in either not going to happen anytime soon or hold for better times. And I think that the town will continue to do this. I would say that every year in our budget negotiations since then, we have continued to scrub the budget. There may not be much left to scrub, but we continue to do that. We continue to I believe, have fees that are reasonable for folks to use the amenities within town. We have, our tennis center. We have a tennis pro there that the fees that people pay to use the tennis center actually covers the cost of that. So it's that kind of thing.
Tough question, but kind of easy answer. I do not at all support any increases in impact fees or property taxes. I think that's the worst possible thing we could do for the foreseeable future. The economy has been what it is. It's been terrible most places except Cary, where it's only been flat. And we should count our blessings for that fact. But better days are ahead. We should be positioned to take advantage of them. We are in a competitive region. When you read about the Raleigh area being the #1 area for business, that's the Raleigh area. That's not Cary. When things come back and there is money for investment, the people who want to invest in this region are going to be looking at where it makes the most sense to do it. And they're going to be looking at the bottom line before they look at anything else. Thank you.
Okay. Now for a question for the at-large candidates. With the budget situation the way it is, what town of Cary programs are you willing to fight for and feel need key financial support?
As a small business owner, I'm used to looking at budgets, profit and loss statements, and things of that nature. And I think that's important that gets brought to the council. There's only a few people currently on the council that have that experience. I'm the only one in my race that does, and I think that's crucial. When we're looking at the budget, if there's any non-efficiencies in there, I think those need to be cut. Obviously, fire, police protection, and infrastructure for roads and parks, I would be very wary of cutting any of that. I think that's core services that our town must provide all of its citizens. I would not be in favor of raising property taxes unless there's a bond referendum put before the town and the citizens wanted that for more infrastructure or more wants. And I think that's something that only the citizens can speak to on that. Thank you.
Well, there's a few types of programs at Cary that I think are really key to the quality of life. And the first one would be our Parks and Rec and our open space. It's a matter of whether or not the high quality of life, whether or not you use the Parks and Recs, but the open space not only gives us the opportunity to enjoy the environment, but it also helps keep our water pure. It keeps the environmental protections in order, and it also makes Cary a wonderful place to live. So that's one of the programs, anything to do with our environmental protection. And also, when it comes to public safety, I think that's absolutely first and foremost. So you should absolutely fund Cary EMS, continue to fund the school resource officers that we do in high schools and middle schools, and also our police and fire.
Okay. Now, questions for the mayoral candidates. Other than suggesting cutting fees and taxes, what would you do in your 4-year term to foster job creation in Cary?
That's an excellent question. Thank you so much. One of the things that I would be doing to foster job creation is that by working full-time as the mayor, I'm available to be an ambassador. So we've had situations where we had companies come in to do recruiting, and because those meetings were held during the day, we weren't able to have a mayor at the table there. We're not going to have that problem if I'm working full-time as the mayor. The other thing is to actively look at business roundtables to assign an ombudsman who can work within the town across departments so that those startup timetables are reduced, and to get better metrics for why businesses may be inquiring about Cary but then moving on. So we need information, first of all, so that we can address whatever the problems are that are facing our businesses that are keeping job creation from moving forward.
The question was, what would you do to bring jobs to Cary? Well, it's all about an economic environment, which we're doing, and we're bringing hundreds of jobs each year. Now, my opponent will occasionally say things to mislead you, to misguide you, and distort my record. And I'm going to let you know when she does that, and she just did that. She told you I won't meet with people in the middle of the day. That's just absolutely false. And I do meet with people in the middle of the day. And I do it often. I'll be doing it 3 times this week. So don't believe everything you hear. Look at the record. We're bringing in jobs by the hundreds. The average salary of the jobs we brought in from Siemens, ABB, Lord Corporation, SAS is well over $80,000 a year. This not only supports big businesses, but supports small businesses. So Cary is doing a lot of good things now and will continue to do so in the future. Thanks.
Okay, now we're going to move on to a set of questions about water quality, water use. Start again. We will, this time we'll keep going with the order of District B, D, at-large, and mayor, but obviously you'll speak because you're the only candidate in your race, but we'd like to reverse the order of how the candidates speak. So Mr. Hyatt should speak before Mr. Adcock, Ms. Adcock, etc. Yes. Okay. Here we go. Rules. This is for District B. Rules have been adopted to clean up Jordan Lake, which has been rated by the state as impaired or polluted. Given attempts to change the Jordan Lake rules in the General Assembly, what role do you think Cary should play in maintaining the current rules?
Thank you. Great question. The Cary Town Council and myself supported the Jordan Lake rules to help keep our most precious water source clean for years to come. We also work with Chatham County to help devise a joint land use plan that both respects and protects Chatham's rural character and charm, and also further protects Jordan Lake. And then we even went a step further and supported an annexation agreement that the town of Cary cannot even annex into Chatham County now without Chatham County's approval. So we're doing everything we can to protect Chatham County and Jordan Lake. We're going to continue to do so, and thank you.
The next question is for the District D. The population of Cary is growing fast, and it's placing increased pressure on our water supply. And the fastest areas of Cary that are growing are over toward the west, over by the Jordan Lake watershed. And should Cary focus on limiting growth in the area of Lake Jordan? And what more could be done to minimize pollution in Lake Jordan? Mr. Hyatt, you go first.
Sure. Well, first of all, Cary isn't growing quite as fast as people thought. The latest census numbers showed that our growth rate actually has not exceeded 5% any time in the last, 5.1% 1 year in the last decade. We thought we were pushing 150,000. We're barely over 130,000. So it's not as bad as many of you thought. Now, that being said, one of the biggest problems with growth out towards Jordan Lake, lush lawns, big yards, fertilizer, nitrogen runoff is a huge problem. I support Cary's efforts to actually do the aeration down near the inlet. I don't know how many of you have followed that, but basically during the summer, water's warm, oxygen stays at the top. During the winter, the water cools, oxygen comes down. Cary's talking about putting some oxygen input streams. I don't know what they're exactly called, but to help oxygenate the water near the inlets in Jordan Lake. That's something I support.
Is that Adcock?
Oh, I'm sorry.
To the right.
wasn't intentional.
I know. Actually, Cary's population is about 140,000, and last year's growth rate was 3.68. A lot of people would argue that's a pretty comfortable growth rate. So in terms of our growth, I think that continuing to work with Chatham County on the joint land use plan such that we try to protect that land and have less development the closer you get to the lake is one thing that we're actively doing. We have a turf buyback program where we're trying to get people to actually plant around their homes with natural landscaping so they use less water. We've had a water conservation program for over 10 years that's been extremely effective and in fact has put us at the head of the region in terms of water conservation during our years of drought in the recent past.
Okay, next question is for the at-large candidates, and Ms. Bush should answer first this time. According to scientists at the North Carolina State's Center for Applied Aquatic Ecology, stormwater is the #1 threat to water quality in North Carolina. Other municipalities have adopted high standards to protect their drinking water supply. Do you think the current Jordan Lake rules are strong enough to clean up Cary's water supply? And do you think the town of Cary should adopt stormwater regulations that would be stronger than the rules to improve water quality?
Another easy one. Well, first off, I do think that Ms. Adcock said something that's very important, which is that Cary has done an exceptional job at water conservation, at environmental protection, and by the working with Chatham County on the Joint Commission, have worked together and collaboratively to come up with some rules that everyone can agree to. Stormwater runoff is difficult, especially with the large amount of impervious surface. So I think there's two ways that we can actually look at that. The first one is to make sure that we have the kind of riparian buffers, the stormwater runoff plans, and that we work very closely with the EPA. And the second thing we can do is to work with development and make sure that they are aware of this. This is everybody's drinking water supplies. It's not just the people that live there. So if we all work collaboratively, we can hopefully find something that everyone can work with together.
We all drink water and we all want clean water, and that's what we're going to need to keep attracting people to come to Cary. We do live in one of the best places in the U.S. for people to come to. And I don't think we need new regulation. I think that's the last thing we need. Council has put in place proper regulation. It just needs to be followed. And council years ago told a developer who wanted to encroach upon the easements and the buffers there at Jordan Lake that he can't do that. And I think that's the right move to make, but we don't need new regulation. We just need to make sure we follow the regulation that's on the books. That's the last thing we need is more big government. And, as a small business owner, I bring the practical, no-nonsense type approach to council, and that's what I plan to do in less than 15 days with your help. Thank you.
All right, now we get to the question for the mayoral candidates, and Mr. Weinbrecht would go first. Western Wake, as of at least a week ago, was still characterized as being in a drought. Cary has been a leader in water conservation and tiered rates to control water use. Yet the numbers are showing that Cary's water consumption per capita is still higher than nearby municipalities in the area. Do you think Cary has done enough for water conservation, and what other steps might you recommend?
Well, Cary has alternate day watering, and Cary's conservation per capita has gone down. We have to meet our peak demand, which is about 31 million gallons a day. We have the capacity of 40 million gallons a day, and that capacity was reached about 4 or 5 years ago and has been reached maybe once or twice since then, and we haven't gone past that. Now, once you start, you have to extrapolate past that. It's a 5-year process to build a water plant, and we've started that process, so we have at least enough water to last us for 5 years. Now, to answer the question, yes, we can do more than alternate day water, than toilet rebates, than turf buybacks. There are several other things we can possibly do that we will entertain. We have a sustainability manager who helps us with these issues and actually obtains federal grants to help us come up with other issues and other ways to conserve water.
Thanks. Well, I'm absolutely committed to making sure that we primarily provide a lot of education on water conservation. I think that's one of our key issues. I think there are a lot of residents who are still struggling with simple things like alternate day watering and not understanding when they're supposed to water, when they're not supposed to water. So I think there's some education that needs to happen there. And I believe that we need to continue to evaluate the programs that we have in place for the next generation, because while we have a lot to do with our existing citizens, the future is really dealing with 10 and 20 years from now. Those kids now who you can't hardly get out of the shower without dumping cold water on them while they're in there, you've got to figure out ways to help them understand the impact of what they do. So we can have timers, we can throw cold water on them to get them out of there, but at some point they have to own the idea that they're responsible for water conservation. And until we do that with the next generation, I think our efforts will not be successful.
Okay, we're now going to go on to a series of questions that are sort of more general growth questions. So the majority of the future growth in Cary appears like it's going to be west of Highway 55. And at the moment, Cary is working with Chatham County officials to develop a joint comprehensive land use plan. So for the District B, what specifically do you like about this plan to the extent that you've had a chance to look at it?
Well, the great thing about the plan is it really promotes what's called very low-density residential development the closer you get to the lake. We want to keep we want development near the lake to be as thoughtful and considerate of that environment as possible. It works to preserve Chatham County's rural character and charm, and what I really like is it actually gives Chatham County a voice in the process. It's a great plan. I look forward to it being adopted. I'm very thankful that we have a friendly Chatham County Commission now that's able to work with us. It's a welcome change. We're getting good things done. We're talking. We're working together. We'll continue to do so, and thank you.
Okay, for excuse me, for the District D candidates, specifically, what in the plan do you not like?
Well, that's a very difficult question, because the fact it's called a joint land use plan says everything, that everything has to be agreed to. And I guess the only thing I would say that is more difficult for me to accept is that I know that the Chatham County Commissioners would like us to place a moratorium on citizen-initiated annexation, those citizens who live in Chatham County but would like to annex into Cary to get Cary water and sewer. They would like us to not honor those citizen requests. And I have a difficult time with that, because I believe that property owners have the right to ask to be annexed into the municipality of their choice.
I've been wrestling with how to answer that. I guess the thing that bothers me the most about the plan is that it's taken so long to get even to where we are. The effort to start this plan goes back a couple of years. Your District A representative was, I remember it vividly, was berated at a council meeting because she dared say we needed a plan. And Chatham County residents were like, stay the heck out. You know, we don't want you here at all. And so that's just unfortunate. But be that as it may, there is now a plan. I think it's a reasonably good plan if it's followed. I think we're going to continue to have issues where, you know, people who had no plans of ever developing their land, once it gets developed around them, they tend to change their minds. So the pressure is going to be there. And so it's just something we're going to have to try to keep a handle on.
The next set of questions is for the at-large candidates. Some people see denser development as a negative. Others see density, when it's done well, as a way to create vibrant community centers. What is your view on the place for density in development? Bridges?
Growth is only good if the citizens want it. And I think that's important, not only in Cary, but in any municipality in North Carolina. For a project to get my vote, it's going to have to be harmonious with the community that surrounds it. And that's just important. I have a good example. I was in West Cary this weekend going door to door for about 8 hours, talking to neighbors and talking to, and I live in West Cary myself, and there's a Pulte development that's going on out there that is looking to have more homes on a smaller lot than it was initially. And the citizens don't want it. It's not harmonious with what's out there. It's not harmonious with the neighborhood that's next to. And I think we have to listen to citizens. And there's folks that do that well, and there's folks that don't. And it's y'all's job as voters to look at that and see who's going to listen the best when it comes to this. And if the citizens don't want it, I think we have to be very, very careful on what we propose and what's voted on.
Well, when it comes to citizen engagement and involvement, I actually got involved quite early when we had something similar happen at the corner of Davis Drive and High House. And that's when development came up where the citizens did engage. They did put together a petition, and unfortunately, they were not heard. And that's actually what spurred me to run for office. And I think that absolutely citizen engagement is key. Now, there are times when density, mixed use and density is the right thing. That's why we have activity centers that are in the plan. In the Southwest Area Plan, the Northeast or Northwest Area Plan, we have many different areas where different types of housing is appropriate for the environment and the community. So number one, different types of density help an environment, a community thrive, but it has to be, number two, agreed to by the citizens, and they must support that.
Now we go to some questions. A question for the mayoral candidates. Cary has been a town primarily made of single-family homes on individual lots with a relatively small number of townhouses. A large part of new development, however, has been higher density. A lot of apartment complexes, specifically a project improved on Tryon Road. Should Cary encourage or discourage higher density?
Thanks. I think that Cary needs to encourage high-density projects that are sustainable. They need to be economically sustainable in terms of being located near existing infrastructure, and they need to be environmentally sustainable. And they don't need to just meet the minimum qualifications for being environmentally sustainable and good projects. They need to go beyond that, and they need to be excellent projects. Cary's actual rates have been very consistent. We're right at around 25% of our housing is multifamily as opposed to single family. That rate has remained very consistent, but it's always disconcerting to neighbors as we fill up our available space when that 25% includes their backyard. So that's my position on that.
All right, repeat the question. I want to make sure I understand that right. Phew.
I said the question is, Cary's primarily been a town made of single-family homes on individual lots with a relatively small number of townhouses. Recent development has been higher density, apartment complexes like the one approved on Tryon Road. Should Cary encourage or discourage higher density?
Okay, so the question is density, basically. Density depends. Theoretically, if you cluster things together, you can leave more area open. I saw this in Ireland this past week. It was wonderful, beautiful. Theoretically, if you build density near transit stops, you'll get more people to ride transit. However, if you put these in the backyards of people that don't want them, then you've created more of a problem than you're trying to solve. So there's not a blanket answer to the question yes or no. Density is good in some places. For example, Weston is an office park. People have to travel there to work, travel there to go home, travel to eat, everything. We approved some multifamily there. That was actually good because it was a mix of use. We actually, I actually voted against the ones over there at Harrison Point and Tryon Road, mainly because there's already a lot of multifamily there and people didn't want it. And that's exactly the point I was trying to make. Thanks.
Okay. Now we're going to have 2 questions involving transit and then 2 questions on some other affordable housing type issues. So not all 4 groups are even going to get the same type of question this round. And don't forget to switch around this time in the other 3 groups with your answer. So the first question is a question about transit for District B. What do you believe should be the role for mass transit in Cary? Will you continue to support C-Tran, and should it be expanded?
Absolutely continue to support C-Tran. We actually have been working to expand it over the last few years. It's gone from a request service to now to a fixed route service along with the door-to-door service. So we are working as hard as we can to make that more sustainable. In regards to transit, I do not support the proposed tax hike to pay for it. Quite frankly, I don't support giving the state of North Carolina any more transportation dollars until they can demonstrate the ability to use existing transportation dollars wisely and efficiently and reform our state's inequitable equity distribution formula that really only rewards political power and fails to focus on the areas with the highest needs. When the state can start demonstrating the ability to use the money they've already got wisely, I might look at supporting giving them a little bit more. I wholeheartedly support increased bus services. It's a great tool. It's easy to manage it. You can move buses where the growth is. You cannot pick up rail tracks and move them.
Since you brought up the sales tax increase, half-cent sales tax increase, I wanted to get, I was going to do this in a couple of minutes, but I thought I'd go ahead and do it now, which is I'd like to get a show of hands from all of the candidates, just a show of hands, whether you support the half cents. Let me describe exactly what it's supposed to be. It would be a half-cent sales tax increase to fund expanding and improving bus service and building a commuter and light rail system.
At what time?
Well, just first question is in general, and then there's this follow-up question about timing.
Well, the answer depends on the time.
The answer also depends on whether you're, whether you're asking whether we support the county commissioners putting this on the ballot,
right,
or whether we support the tax. That's a really important difference.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Okay.
Okay, well,
ask it that way. I'll be happy to answer.
All right. do you favor or oppose the county commissioners putting it on the ballot?
Raising hands?
Show of hands. Raise your hands. Do you favor it? Do you favor it?
Yeah, it should be on the ballot.
Favor putting it on the ballot.
Favor putting it on the ballot.
On the ballot, yes.
Okay.
Let the people decide.
Let the people decide, that's right.
Any opposition to that?
We got it on film.
Okay.
Let's see it.
There you go.
Okay, any opposition to putting it on the ballot? Okay. Now, do you support holding a referendum to authorize the half-cent sales tax increase in 2012 or 2013?
Is that another hand raised?
Yes.
That's the same question.
It's a similar question, but do you support?
It depends on the economy.
Well, I support it being on the ballot. I would not vote for it. Does that answer your question?
Okay, let's ask it that way. Would you vote for it?
No.
Absolutely.
In 2012 or 2013?
No.
2012, no. I don't know about 2013, too far out.
Okay, fair enough.
Bottom line is this area will eventually need some form of mass transit rail. It is not needed anytime soon.
Could we see your hands on that? The question really is, would you support putting it on the ballot in 2012 or 2013?
So
Putting-
one or
that's a
the
different
other.
question.
Is that what you're
If
saying?
one or the other, would you support that? If you do, raise your hand. If you do not, please don't.
Yeah.
Putting it on the ballot.
On the ballot.
Putting it on
Putting
the
it on the
ballot.
ballot.
We answered that, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought we answered.
Putting on, the people should always decide whether or not they want to spend more money.
All right, so we got that down, I think.
Maybe.
Maybe. All right, so now let's move on to another transit question. This is for District D, and Mr. Hyatt would go first.
Thank you. We couldn't recall.
Cary's traditionally low density growth is pushing development further and further from the town center. Is this incompatible with transit? And if so, how would you encourage transit-oriented higher density growth, particularly around future rail stops or bus hubs?
Well, I only know of one rail stop, and that's in downtown Cary. The downtown area plan has had plans on the books for high density residential there for a long, long time. I understand the question, but the answer really boils down to this. The deal that we have to fund any kind of light rail sucks. I mean, the federal government has said, we will give you 20 cents if you agree to spend $1. We don't have that money. We're not going to have that money anytime soon. So I guess I disagree with the premise of the question. So, because I just don't see it happening.
Please repeat the question.
Okay. Cary's traditionally low density growth may be pushing development further and further from the town's center. Is this incompatible with transit? And if so, how would you encourage transit-oriented higher density growth, particularly around future rail stops or bus hubs?
First of all, I think if you narrowly define transit as rail, then that's the answer to your question. The farther out you go, the farther you are from a rail stop. But I tend to think of transit as all kinds of transportation. So as we look at the last 10% of Cary to be built out, and most of that is west of 55, we need to continue to look at communities that have connectivity and have walkability so that people can get to the grocery store, get to the community center, get to the school, and hopefully at some point have bus service that serves these areas. In terms of downtown, we certainly need, as we look at the walkability of downtown and all the many amenities we have now and hope to have, higher density development there.
Okay, the next two questions involve affordable housing, and the first one will be for the at-large candidates, and Ms. Bush should go first. Do you have specific recommendations for improving the supply of affordable housing in Cary?
So just to be clear, for affordability to me means that the cost of your home is less than 30% of your income. So for some people, the term affordable housing brings up ideas of urban slums, and that's not what we're talking about. The median house price in Cary is about $250,000. I know less than a quarter of Town of Cary employees can even afford to live here. So speaking on affordability, I do support the multiple affordability options that are in the plan that came out in 2010. We have an affordability gap, so we need to look at other ways of doing that, whether it's Habitat for Humanity, whether it's the new senior housing. There's lots of options for increasing the stock of affordable housing, and I would support that.
As a practicing attorney, I see a lot of new folks moving into town, and this is a great way that we can serve our Cary citizens. Mom and dad want grandparents close by for their kids, and we see a lot of seniors moving here to be close to their grandkids, and I think that's a great thing to do. And we need to ensure and we need to protect the plans that are on the books at the town hall. And I would support the programs that are in place. There's federal grants in place too that the town gets for these affordable housing. And I think it's important to support that because then we're supporting our seniors and we're supporting the citizens that are already here. Thank you.
Okay, now a question for the mayoral candidates, starting with Mr. Weinbrecht. Do you support inclusionary zoning or other measures to guarantee affordable housing is available throughout the city, throughout the town of Cary?
Well, actually, that's a question for the legislature, not for us. We're in a Dillon's Rule state, so for us to do that, the legislature would have to approve that, and I don't see any indication that the legislature is going to do that. But I support it. I think that would help. You got to remember that affordability in Cary is relative. And so once the economy starts picking up, the housing prices will continue to rise, and affordability will be even more difficult as we continue to move forward. So there's lots of solutions to creating affordability, and Cary must continue to look at all options to create affordability in Cary. I mean, you can't just look at one solution or one type and support just one type. You've got to look at any and all options and be open to creating solutions that will allow affordability.
Thanks. Well, I've done some study of the Montgomery County, Maryland inclusionary zoning project, and it's very, it's, you know, it seems to be a successful project. But there are state obstacles to anything like that here. So we certainly have that as a challenge. In the plan that Cary developed that Ms. Bush referenced, there was some discussion of whether to include that in a very, very long-range sense, knowing that we don't currently have that statutory authority. And I don't believe it eventually stayed in the plan at all. But it is something that I think is going to continue to be discussed in Cary.
All right, I think everybody has now had 4 questions to answer, right? Plus a hand raise. So that is actually, we wanted to now turn it over to questions from audience members. And so what we'd like you to do is have folks go over to that microphone over there. When you ask your question, if you could state your name and whether you live in Cary or not. And questions should be asked for a particular group of races or a particular race, not to individual candidates. And yes. And yeah, if you want to do a hand-raising question, everybody would just, all the candidates would raise their hands. And yes. The question must be asked within 30 seconds, and try to stay succinct and keep on topic and ask questions and as opposed to too much in the way of comments. So the microphone is open.
My name is Al Hicks. Al Hicks, I've been a resident of Cary for 17 years now and seen a lot of growth here. My question regards vision, the need for vision on the part of the mayoral candidates. I've heard that mentioned twice on the part of one of the mayoral candidates. And vision in many businesses tends to be something that's framed on the wall, but doesn't really impact the business operation day to day. Lou Gerstner, in coming to IBM, studied the need for a vision at IBM for a number of months and finally came to the conclusion that the operation was too diverse to need a vision.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Given the diversity of the town of Cary's issues and problems, does a vision really improve the day-to-day operation of the town?
And which set of candidates would you like to answer that?
The mayor's.
Mayor.
That's why I was talking about the mayor's.
Ms. Muir. We'll alternate.
Well, I'm not sure that the vision is intended to improve the day-to-day operations of the town as much as to provide for the long-term quality of life. So when we talk about incorporating education, the environment, sound land planning, the comprehensive plan that we have, parks and rec, the economic development that the town needs, I think that it would be a worthwhile exercise to bring in all the stakeholders from the community, the citizens, the businesses, the recreational experts, the employees, and the council, and to collaborate to say, you know, here's where we've been, here's where we are now. What do we see for the future of Cary?
My vision is pretty much covered in the town's mission statement, which basically says provide exemplary services and strive for the highest quality of life. I think as we grow and as the town grows, if we want to keep our identity, we have to protect the charm and the character of this town. We have to protect the highest quality of life. Those are things that have to be most prominent in your mind. Part of your vision of the town is to make the highest quality of life. And we've been able to do that for many, many years. And a lot of the things that I've been pushing for the last 4 years have been promoting the highest quality of life, safety, most desirable place to live. All these things are part of that. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Sadar Siddiqui. I don't live in Cary, I live in Morrisville. I have a general question. I think anybody can answer that.
Yeah, well, why don't we pick one group here? How about the at large?
Maybe one mayor and one for other races. And the
Well-
question is, can I continue with my question?
No, it's going to be a group of candidates from one set. It's not going to be a particular candidate. So why don't we just have the at-large do it?
Okay, at large and one mayor. Okay. The question is, that is, since you folks know how the development happens, now my question is, when you have a road passing through some good communities and then some through bad areas, could you tell me or tell everybody what are the various ways the development of that road can be funded, and what techniques you have ever used to overcome such situation when you say it is a state road, it is a federal road, it is this road and that road? That's all my question. Thank you.
All right. Why don't we just go down the line with the two mayor candidates and the two at-large candidates?
Well, Cary has development fees which require adequate road capacity before CO can be offered or permitted. So that should create a road where development occurs in front of it. Now, major roads are covered by North Carolina Department of Transportation and maintained by the North Carolina Department of Transportation. So those are a little bit different. What Cary can do on the North Carolina Department of Transportation roads is advocate for traffic lights, for other safety issues like sidewalks, etc., because even stop signs, traffic lights, all these things have to be approved by the state. But as far as road capacity for the development, that is covered in the town's guidelines, rules, and ordinances, and the cost is covered in fees.
There's not much to add to those facts, except to say that I think there are situations that Cary has faced that require us to look at ways to be flexible with some of our transportation fees. And one example, that was Stone School Supply, when they decided to move to Cary, and they were seeking an exception so that to their road improvements that were required there, when they're facing a road that is largely built out. And I think one of the challenges that our small businesses face is that when they want to come in and do development, they have extremely high fees that often keep them from being able to do this. Not only our small businesses, but also our churches are facing this. And I know there's a particular situation along 54 that's going to be very difficult and cost intensive for a community of faith. And these are things that we have to figure out how to resolve.
If the at-large candidates want to add to that and just talk more about roads in general, that'd be fine.
Sure. So in Cary, we have over 100 miles of road that aren't owned by the town. So what you mentioned about state roads, there being a number of state roads and having difficulty is absolutely the case. I do think, though, there are some opportunities for being innovative. I have to give credit to Glenn Lang, who, more than almost a decade ago, came up with an innovative way to widen Highway 55. It wasn't going to be widened on the NC State DOT plan for many more years, and Cary had surplus funds. So Cary actually paid for the road to be widened much earlier. So I don't think anything's off the table, and when you have an innovative council that's open to all types of opportunities, I think that's one of the ways that we can, get roads up to the type of priority that you're looking for.
Having infrastructure in place is important. That's what brings people to Cary. We come here for a certain look, a certain feel. Things run smoothly. I've been in cities before where they don't, and it makes a difference, and it's called leadership. And some people have leadership and some people don't. And, I think it's important that we work well with others. And that's crucial. I've served on my HOA board. I serve on my HOA board at my business park now. I work well with others in a collaborative manner. And that's going to be crucial as we go to the next 10, 15 years here in Cary to ensure we have good roads and ensure we have good schools and ensure we have business coming in. And we got to make sure our fees are in line with other municipalities on that too, or business is going to go someplace else. Thank you.
I'm John Shaw, and I live in the town of Cary. This question is for the District D candidates. Are you aware of any of the studies which have been done on cost of government service and other economic impacts that showed that residential development did not pay for itself?
John, I'm sorry to say I'm not familiar with any studies that show that.
I'm familiar with one study, no surprise that it was funded by development interests, that in fact showed that residential properties beyond a certain size actually did pay for itself over time. The fact of the matter is, development in and of itself, whether it be residential, business, it doesn't matter. None of it pays for itself immediately. Much of it does not pay for itself over time. I mean, if it paid for itself over time, New York City would be the cheapest place to live in the entire country. I think we all know that. The trick isn't so much whether or not it pays for itself. The trick is, do you get what you pay for? And how should that be funded? Now, every election cycle, impact fees come up. I'm not a huge fan of them, but the thing I really don't like is that they are a hidden tax. If they showed up on a closing statement as a fee that you paid to buy your new home, I'd sign up for them just fine. I don't like the fact that they're hidden.
My name's John Nichols. I live in Cary. My wife and I moved here about 2 years ago, and my question is for the mayoral candidates. We live about a mile from the downtown, and we're initially pretty excited about seeing what services and businesses were there. We're familiar that there is a plan to sort of develop that out a good bit, but my question is, why has it not proceeded as quickly as maybe a lot of folks would hope, and what would you do to sort of foster that happening in the future?
I think there's 4 things that we need there in downtown. We need people, we need products, we need parking, and we need progress. Okay, I have no idea why it's taken so long, except to say that I'm committed to making sure it doesn't take any longer. So my husband and I started the Cary Wi-Fi network that's available free to people in downtown. I've been a member of the Heart of Cary Association for about 2 years. Very, very invested in downtown and making sure that your home, the value goes up because you live near downtown, and that we have success in the downtown area.
The quick question to the earlier part of your question was the recession. That's what slowed it down. We approved the $35 million streetscape project and then had to pull back on that. What we have done, we went ahead and paid cash and built the Cary Arts Center, saving citizens millions of dollars. What we have done is purchased a historic structure across the street from the Cary Arts Center, which is going to be redone hopefully into something very, very nice. We purchased the old theater structure, which is going to be redone. That's also going to be a draw. And then there's about a dozen things that I can't even tell you about. What I can tell you is we have set aside $8 million for this year for downtown. I can promise you that $8 million will be invested in downtown this year, and you will see more than you're seeing right now. Cary has gotten momentum in downtown, and it's moving forward. We've waived all impact fees in that 3 Street area, and that's an incentive. And once we start doing these other things that I can't talk about, in addition to the $8 million, you're going to see a lot of change.
Okay, Mr. Francis asked to speak to this, so I think I'm going to open this question up since it's a question. Huh? Yeah. I'm going to open this up to the rest of the panel.
Bottom line, to answer your question, the reason why things have taken so long when we had a town center area plan 11 years ago, there was not the political will on the council to move forward with initiating or funding those plans, period. We had council members who supported the downtown. We did not have a majority of council who believed in the vision of a vibrant and prosperous downtown community. We now have that. That's why you're seeing things happening. That's why you're seeing things moving forward. That's why there's an excitement and a buzz downtown that we have never had before. In the last few years, we have gotten more things done downtown than previous councils have in 10 or 15 years. It's because we have the votes to do it. Mayor Weinbrecht mentioned a few. Cary Arts Center, fully funded, under budget, no additional debt, completed on time. We've acquired the downtown theater. We've acquired over 75% now of the downtown park property. We're currently working with Wake County to site a new regional library in that property. That will in turn free up the existing library property for digital media center, something. Things are happening. You've got to keep elected officials in office who believe in the vision for downtown to keep it moving forward.
I'll take right up where you left off. So one of the other things that we've done is approve the hiring of a downtown development manager, and I think this was a major linchpin in the movement and momentum that we have established downtown. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet Ed Goff, you owe it to yourself to sit down and have lunch with this man. He has brought new eyes to Cary. I think many of us who've lived in Cary for a long time have become kind of inured to some of the buildings downtown. Ed asked questions. He brought new eyes, and he caused the rest of us to develop new eyes. And I think a lot of this is because of the leadership he's brought us. But it took the leadership of council and our staff to both believe that we needed this position and to fund it in order to make it happen.
I believe the question was, why has it taken so long? Is that the question? Okay. Well, all right. My wife told me not to be cranky, so I'm going to try to answer this question without being cranky. But the real truth is the biggest problems downtown we've had to defer. The biggest problems downtown before any serious redevelopment can happen are fixing 50, 60-year-old water and sewer systems. Now, before that gets done, serious downtown development cannot take place. Because our revenues are down $6 million year to year, we had to put off $200 million in capital projects. A big chunk of that was for downtown water and sewer improvements. So it's not for lack of will, it's been for lack of money. And I will say this, if we have money to buy open space that would have never been developed anyway, we have money to do downtown sewer improvements if that's where we want to prioritize it.
It's time downtown got the attention it deserves. I started my business in downtown Cary in '03. I got married in downtown Cary. I lived there for a while, and my wife and I are trying to move back to downtown Cary as soon as we can find a lot and a house there. It is a wonderful place to be, and you should take a stroll down there if you haven't had the pleasure of doing so. Downtown needs attention, and there's no doubt about it. And I agree with most of what I've heard up here today, but there's not a lot of vision, and there's not a lot of putting your money where your mouth is on this issue, and there must be that attention. And I promise once I get on council, that will happen, because we need to make downtown a priority. The cost of doing something now will far outweigh by the cost of doing something later if we wait. Thank you.
I think you're getting a lot of yes, we understand, and yes, you're absolutely right. As you go through the list of things that everybody's already talked about, the one important conversation that I would add to that is that Cary downtown, or downtown Cary, depending on who you're talking to, is a really important part of our history and our culture. I think it would have been easy for people to just bulldoze it down and build something that looked like it was an old downtown. But I think what's really important is that it was done methodically. It continues to be done methodically. The historic buildings are being purchased. There's real thought that's being put in about what each one of those buildings should be and what's needed. And I think the kind of attention that Cary deserves, that downtown Cary deserves, is finally happening. I hope that in 2 years or however long, you actually come back and say the question, oh, I really like all the changes that are happening downtown.
Okay, I think this will be the final question from the audience.
My name's Dan Madding. I live in Cary off of Lake Pine, kind of between Cary Parkway and Maynard. And I apologize, but whoever's district that is, this question is to you. So this is for District D. So Kildare Farm neighborhood has several greenways that go through it. When you cross over the tube on Kildare Farm Road, that greenway actually comes all the way over to the neighborhood behind mine. And so my question is, would you support the town taking over and maintaining currently privately maintained greenways if those greenways were on your master greenway plan? Because right now, But Master Greenway Plan shows greenways there where there already are greenways, but they're privately maintained by Kidder Farm, which they're not in great shape. But I know other neighborhoods in Cary have greenways that are maintained by the city.
Well, coincidentally enough, I live in West Park, and the White Oak Greenway that runs through there is exactly that situation. When I moved there in 1993, homeowner association maintained kind of a gravel thing. It degraded over time. Town of Cary decided that they wanted to expand that greenway across 55 and all the way out so it could connect with the tobacco trail that runs up to Durham. So what happened is that the town of Cary has actually paved about 2/3 of the greenway around West Park. It was done in cooperation with the West Park Homeowners Association. And I don't know if the costs compare, so I can't just say, yes, it's a great idea. I have no idea what your greenway situation actually is. I can tell you that it's been done and our neighborhood is happy with it, and I'm not aware of a huge expense to make it happen because it's one of those things that the town has in its budget every year for greenway improvements. So I hope that helps.
Yes, thanks. What a refreshing question. You know, what's interesting is I've walked the Annie Jones Greenway a lot, and often what we have are natural trails that run behind residential neighborhoods, and the residents are often a little upset when the town comes in and has to pave them and make them more usable so that not just the able-bodied can use them, but also people with strollers and people with wheelchairs and things like that. So it's refreshing to get your question about would the town be willing to actually acquire your greenway and maintain it for you. It's obviously something that have to be studied to see what's the cost, how long would it take, is there the possibility even of a public-private partnership on this. So I appreciate the question and would love for you to ask us that in a more formal way at some point.
Okay, we're now going to go to the closing statements, and we will go in the reverse order that we started with the opening statements. Each candidate will have a minute and a half, and we'll start with Mr. Weinbrecht and go down the row. Minute and a half.
4 years ago, citizens were upset in Cary. They saw uncontrolled growth, and they saw that they didn't have a voice in what was going on at Town Hall. So they elected me, and we've come a long way in 4 years. In the last 4 years, I've tried to create relationships, and I've been very successful in many cases. With the Chamber of Commerce, we now have one of the strongest relationships. As a result, we're bringing in major corporations every year. With fellow neighbors, all the mayors, we work very well together. We have joint committees. Been endorsed by almost all of my neighboring mayors, and that includes both parties. One of the difficulties I've had is with the development communities. Now, some of them understand the importance of making a development that is good for the environment and good for the people, and some of them haven't quite gotten there yet, and I'm still working on that. But that's very important. Citizens come first, and they have to understand that. Citizens come first, and they want their environment protected. Now, the next 4 years is going to be challenging. It's going to require proven, steady leadership. We're going to have critical issues that we have to address, and we can't have a non-experienced person in this position at this critical time. So I humbly ask for your vote on October the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Muir. I obviously think we can have somebody who hasn't served as mayor in this role, or I wouldn't be running. And let me tell you why. I've really seen opportunities that Cary has had that have passed us by. And I've seen places that citizens deserved representation where it was not given to them. And it's no fault of the mayor's that he has a full-time job, but I will serve citizens better as a full-time mayor. It's not a distortion of the facts to say that one of us will take this as our primary occupation and one of us will take it as a secondary occupation. And so what that means is that when we're in crisis and the developer on the ICE project at Kroger wants to have a meeting, I will be able to say yes. And when our superintendent of schools on December 31st says that on January 7th they'd like to have a meeting with the other mayors, I will be able to say yes. I do not make things up. These are not a distortion. These are the mayor's own words that he's not available until after 5 o'clock, and I will be happy to show them to you. I believe residents will be better served. I have experience bringing projects, and the things that I talk about are not the things of the past. They're the things of the future. If you go to my website, you'll see a list of solid practical ideas under each of these issues about how to address the problems in Cary. So I ask for your vote. I ask for your consideration, and I do encourage you to read my website, and I'll be happy to show you anything that will substantiate anything that I've said.
Well, first off, thanks again to the League of Women Voters and WakeUP Wake County. You provide an excellent forum for all of us and an excellent opportunity for our citizens to ask the questions. In order for Cary to continue its recent record of balanced growth and environmental protection, the person serving as your at-large representative must be fully committed to these goals of balanced growth and environmental protection. And I believe I am that person. If elected, I will continue to ensure that as we grow, we have the right infrastructure, the roads, the schools, the water and sewer, that we continue to enhance Cary, supporting Cary downtown, and maintaining the rural feel of Southwest Cary, and also to continue to support the town's fiscally conservative nature, keeping our AAA bond rating intact. And as the only candidate who's been actively involved with the town, whether it was attending the Cary School of Government, on the Planning and Zoning Board, when I chaired the Citizens Issue Advisory Committee, or on the Cary Site Design Focus Group, I have always believed that collaboration and leadership go hand in hand. And I believe I can hit the ground running and represent you at the council table. I'm Lori Bush, and I ask for your vote on October 11th.
My name is Zeke Bridges, and I am running for the Cary Town Council at-large seat. And my opponent stated that she's the only candidate that has experience with our government, and that is not true. I'm the only candidate here that's a member of the Cary Chamber, and my opponent is not. I have a rapport with the business community here. I'm going door-to-door meeting voters and listening to their concerns. I want to pledge to the voters tonight, and I think it's important. Public servants don't do this enough anymore, and I want to pledge 6 things to you that I'm going to ensure that Cary's high quality of life is maintained, and I think that's crucially important. To ensure that Cary citizens have the highest level of service at the lowest taxpayer costs. To work to balance growth in a way that respects property rights and the environment. I want to cut fees and taxes, especially hidden fees, on small business and family-owned business here in Cary. And I want to encourage new business growth and foster existing businesses in Cary. And finally, and most importantly, I want to make sure that Cary stays safe. I'm the only candidate in this race that's received the endorsement of our Wake County Sheriff, Donnie Harrison. I'm the only candidate in this race that's received the Police Benevolence Association endorsement as well. I think it's important to work with everybody that's a citizen here in Cary, to work with our business community, also to work with the Chamber, and I would greatly appreciate your vote on October the 11th. My website is bridgesforcary.org. My phone number is 919-278-7838. I believe it's important to be accessible, and I want to make sure if none of your questions were answered here tonight, feel free to call me anytime. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Don Hyatt, running in District D, and I'd like to start off briefly actually addressing or following up with Mr. Hicks' question. He mentioned Lou Gershner in IBM. I've been with IBM since 1987, and I kind of lived through that whole transition thing, and he was right. They didn't need a mission statement because there were a lot of problems, but the one thing that he did bring to IBM that I think I can help bring to Cary is his notion that service is what mattered most. Listening to the customers and meeting their needs is what mattered most. That's how he turned IBM around. Now, Cary has done a pretty good job of that. I mean, we all enjoy the place, the place that we call home. But as the economy rebounds, it needs to become our primary focus. Because when the jobs come back, we want to make sure that we get them for our citizens. Now, you hear a lot of talk about Siemens and ABB and Deutsche Bank. just a little bit of truth for those is that in some cases, we paid them good money in order not to move. We paid Siemens $500,000 so they wouldn't relocate. We kicked in an additional $75,000 to Deutsche Bank on top of the state's $4.6 million in order to get them to come here. ABB came here because commercial real estate prices were half the cost of Norwalk, Connecticut. Now, as great as Cary is, every one of those businesses, first and foremost, was looking at the bottom line of what it was going to do for their shareholders before they came here. And we need to be in a position to leverage that.
As the incumbent in the District D race, I think I can sum up my first 4 years with 3 words: stewardship, leadership, and relationship. When I think about stewardship, I think about the stewardship of our environmental resources, our fiscal resources, our human resources, but also of our heritage. You know, we were given Cary as a gift to carry it forward into the future. Many of the good things that are happening on our watch were because of the planning and the vision and the guts of the people who came, the leaders who came before us. Just because it happened on our watch doesn't mean we can take complete credit for it. Leadership, you know, you get asked as a public official, what are you going to do? What have you done? One individual at the council table can do nothing by themselves. They must be able to reach consensus. They must be able to get a majority of council members to support their ideas. It takes at least 2 council members to even get an item on the agenda for discussion. This is the kind of leader that I am. I lead from the middle. I believe in treating my fellow council members with respect and honesty, and leading by example. In terms of relationship, I believe that citizens are at the top of the organizational chart, as our mayor loves to say. I believe in listening to them and being responsive. I also believe in listening to my council colleagues. Different opinions bring good solutions to the table. And also, I would also say in terms of relationship that you can count on me to keep our government transparent and to do everything I do with honesty and integrity. I will continue to work for you. Please vote for me on October the 11th.
Thank you all very much for being here this evening to hear from us. My name is Don France, and for the last 4 years, it has been my honor and privilege to serve as your District B representative on the Cary Town Council. During my time on the council, I have focused on fiscal management and economic development. I have worked very hard to provide the high quality of life that Cary citizens expect at the lowest possible cost to the taxpayer, and to create an environment that encourages business growth and creates jobs. I have worked very hard to protect our environment, even though some people fail to see some of those efforts sometimes. I have worked very hard to bring accountability and accessibility to our town government. I'm sorry my opponent can't be here this evening. He couldn't be at a forum yesterday. He's not going to be at the Cary Chamber of Commerce forum on Wednesday, and he's not going to be at the Heart of Cary Association forum next week. He is a name on the ballot, and I've got an email proving it right here where he admits to me the sole reason I filed was because there needs to be 2 names on the ballot. Be happy to let you read this if you'd like. I care about this job. I'm running because I believe in Cary, and I want to do what I can to make this town a much better place than it is today. I've got a passion, and I've got the fire in my belly to do it. I've done it for the last 4 years, and I want to continue to do it. I've had the privilege of meeting, listening, and working with a number of you over the last 4 years to solve a number of issues in Cary. I would love to continue to do that. That's why I'm running for re-election, is to continue to serve you and bring common sense solutions to our town government. Thank you very much.
Let's give a big round of applause to all of the candidates.
This has been the 2011 Cary Mayoral and Town Council Candidate Forum, presented by WakeUP Wake County and the Wake County League of Women Voters. To learn more about this year's Cary candidates, please visit ncvoterguide.org/Cary.